Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. I'm Stu Whiffin. Joining me always, Blake Harrison. How are you, mate?
I'm all right.
Oh, look at our little sad face this morning. Somebody went round his brother's last night for a game of poker with the lads. I'm taking it. It didn't go as planned,
Mate, it didn't go as planned, but also it hasn't gone as planned for a long time. This is like a regular, well, it's semi-regular. We only do it like 3 times a year. It's like me, my brother, a bunch of uni mates of mine and stuff. And we have like a little poker night that we've been doing for like 7, 8 years now, whatever it is. And yeah, I went out first. It wasn't good. Also, because the fights were on early, it was like it was kind of in the background on like a laptop. So, but I did get to go back and watch some of the fights properly, which we'll get into in a minute. But it's all very kind of geeky, as a lot of uni stuff can be, where there's been like a tally kept, and you know, I've won about 3 times, whatever it is. I don't know how many total games there's been. I'm not last on the leaderboard. I'm not last. But
I love the fact that you had to get that bit in. I'm not last.
Yeah, no, I had to get it. I'm not last. I'm not last. I'm above 2 people. That's okay. But I have not won a game of poker with my mates since March of 2019. I found out last night. That is
you're in the wrong game, mate.
horrible. I'm in the wrong game, man. It's not good. I mean, the cards weren't good to me, but it must be my fault as well, because it's always the same 2 winning, and it's my brother. My brother wins every time.
Oh, that's even more painful.
Annoying. It's so annoying. But yeah, so there you go. That was me last night. So I've sort of watched the fights, but not as I normally would. And I'm a little bit peeved. Not happy, Blake, this morning. And I've come straight from his as well. Like, I haven't showered or anything. So if you're watching this in 4D, you can probably smell the BO, the kind of remnants of Domino's pizza, and the overwhelming stench of defeat on me right now. So sorry about that if you're watching this in 4D. Right. What about you? How did you watch the fights?
I was out yesterday. I did get hit up by Mr. Pip. Pip said there was he was going to be watching it, and I think he watched it live by our little WhatsApp thread. But I was in London, and so I got up this morning nice and early. I was up at 7 this morning watching it, and really enjoyed it. I thought it was.
So you watched it the morning after, even though it was on at like
I know.
time.
Like,
so annoying, isn't it?
I didn't get in till about 7, and then there was no way anyone was going to budge on Eurovision in my house. So it was like, right, I've just got to let that play out. And so got up nice and early, had the living room to myself this morning, and few cups of tea and watched it all, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And so obviously we're talking about last night's UFC. Before we move on and start sort of working our way through the card that went down in North Carolina, did you catch Mr. Edwards on Bellator on Friday evening?
I had a really big day yesterday and some work stuff kind of earlier on. So it kind of came on. I watched the first 2 rounds, I think. And then I was like, good luck, Fabian, but I need to sleep because this is quite a big day for me tomorrow. So I did. But obviously found out he won the next day by decision.
Complete dominant. So dominant.
Was it dominant? So it was 49-46, wasn't it, on the scorecards?
I believe that was the case. But I was at work. I was meant to actually be running the nightclub, but I did disappear and just boot up the iPlayer on the PC in the office, and I only caught I missed the first round, but he was in complete control, and I think it was in the third. Masasi took him down, and I thought, this is where the fight really changes. Fabian looked absolutely comfortable there, and then in the following round, like literally took Masasi down, and
really,
and just looked.
How was he on the ground? Was he like Was he just very comfortable? Did he pop back up? Like, what was?
He just seemed, he seemed very comfortable there, and I think like Gegard looked a bit broken. I thought, I thought he just looked like a fighter at the end of his career. I think, but taking nothing away from Fabian, he looked fucking great, and obviously he's now going to head over to Bellator in Dublin and fight for the strap.
Fight Johnny Oblin, who is, there is an argument to be made. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with it, but there is an argument being made by some because his skill set is, the wrestling is so good. His wrestling is so expert that he could take Adesanya down and give him a really, really tough time. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that is some of the conversation. So that is the mountain that Fabian Edwards needs to climb in Dublin. Is this guy is no joke. He's not Mousasi, who I love. I think Mousasi is a fantastic fighter, and it's a phenomenal win for Edwards. But it'd be really interesting to see if this is perfect timing for Fabian Edwards, because Leon's fought a wrestler twice.
This is what I was going to say.
In Kamaru Usman.
He's in the right place.
Colby Covington.
Yeah.
They're all doing their defensive wrestling work over at Team Renegade in Birmingham.
Absolutely.
This might be perfect timing for the Edwards brothers, and I believe it would be quite historic to have two brothers in the two, what people regard overall as the two top mixed martial arts promotions in the world, to be champions. So
Absolutely.
Best of luck to Fabian.
Definitely. Right. Well, look, let's go back to Carolina and Rosenstruck versus Almeida. Main event. I mean, wasn't really a lot to it, was there?
No, it kind of went, to be honest, how I expected it to go. I don't know what the odds were for first round submission, but I bet they weren't that great.
Yeah.
Because Jairzinho has not got a fantastic ground game. He is a striker at the end of the day. And Almeida has just been, he's been sort of low-key Hamzat Chimaeving people. Because I think I saw a stat that he's absorbed only something like 4 or 5 strikes in his last 3 or 4 fights.
Right.
Like, it's like something crazy, a bit like what Hamzat was at the start before the Gilbert Burns fight. He just doesn't get hit. He just mauls you and submits you. But don't get me wrong, I think Almeida's great. And I've been talking about Almeida, and on the last episode we briefly spoke about this card coming up very, very briefly. And I was talking about Almeida and how good I think he is, and where I think he will fall short potentially. And that hasn't changed from this night. My problem with Almeida is he's so small for the weight class. Like, he weighs in at 231 pounds, where people are weighing in at 265 pounds. Now, that two and a bit stone difference is, obviously not impacting him at all, because he's fighting people whose ground games aren't up too much. And case in point being Jairzinho. When he gets a 265-pound Curtis Blades or Tom Aspinall, who can grapple really well, we've not seen anything to do with Jailton Almeida's striking. And that is where I go, I think he's very, very, very good. I think he's top 5. But when he starts reaching the upper echelons of the division, he might be able to beat a Sergey Pavlovich, because does Sergey Pavlovich have the ground game to keep Jailton off him? I don't know. But I'm not jumping on the Jailton train like too much yet. I've got like 1 foot on it. I've got 1 foot on the train. I'm holding onto the bar, but I could leap back off it at some point.
Sit on the fence,
I don't know. No, not sitting on the fence. Not sitting on the fence. Being very, very unfence-like. I really think he's good. I think he's got more. I think he could. Do you know what? I think. This isn't fence sitting. I think he will be a UFC champion.
Wow.
I just don't think he'll do it at heavyweight. I think he'll do it at light heavyweight.
Okay.
because he absolutely can cut down. And when you look at light heavyweight, Prohajka, Jamal Hill, Johnny Walker, if Alex Pereira goes up and all that kind of stuff, I'm just looking at all of them and going, if Jailton cuts a little bit of weight, it's well within his possibilities to do so.
Yeah.
He will maul the hell out of a lot of that division. Because
Mm.
that, like, it's funny how some divisions are like maybe Ankalaev is someone that could cause him a bit of issues, but
Paul
other than
Craig.
that,
Paul
I
Craig.
don't know.
If
I
that
don't
goes
know.
to ground, I'm comfortable in thinking that Paul Craig's ground game's very, very solid. But from what we hear,
Paul Craig's ground game's amazing, but Jailton, where now he's fighting people 2 stone heavier than him,
Mm.
Jailton will be,
Well,
I think,
from what we
decent size
gather,
bigger.
Paul is going down to middle anyway. So
Well, exactly. So there would be, if Paul can make middleweight, then there's definitely would be a big size discrepancy
yeah, of
between him
course.
and Almeida. But yeah, no, I think it's interesting, and I think it's a very. Did you see the call out?
No.
Called out Tai Tuivasa. What do you think of that?
Um, the probably the heavyweight in the top. Is he still top 10, Ty? He must be still in the
He
10.
must be top 10.
Like,
I'll look it up, but you crack on.
but I mean, it's probably the fighter in that division that's got one of the weakest ground games.
He's sixth, Tai
Yeah,
Tuivasa.
but
And
who else?
Jairzinho's ninth, so you would imagine Jailton Almeida will be ninth by Tuesday.
And so
Um,
he's jumped. Who's he jumped? Tom?
so no. Tom is fifth.
Right.
So at the moment, if we imagine that Almeida will take Rosenstruik's place, then Tybura, who's fighting Aspinall
Mm-hmm.
in July, is 10th. Then you would have Almeida, Sergey Spivak, Alexander Volkov, Tai Tuivasa, Tom Aspinall, Curtis Blades, Stipe Miocic, Sergey Pavlovich, Cyril Gahn, John Jones.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's probably a decent call up. I mean, I'm saying that like it's a walk in the park for him because Ty's ground game's nowhere near Almeida's, but Ty Tuivasa, mate, he sticks one on your chops, you're going to sleep quickly.
100%. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I think it's a smart call out.
Exactly, yeah.
And you're not gonna make anything other than a smart call out. If you want to get in that higher part of the top 10, then that's how you do it. And I wouldn't be calling out a Tom Aspinall because I think that's a bad matchup for him. I think somebody that's as you touched upon earlier, they're more well-rounded fighters. Could really expose any weaknesses in Almeida's striking. But yeah, it's exciting. It's another young fighter that's coming through in the heavyweight division, and yeah, I look forward to seeing more. Now,
I just want to say on that Tai Tuivasa call out, I think the way you've described it is exactly right. It's a very smart call out. If you're in Jailton's team, you're like, we can move up the rankings again. Tai Tuivasa is a huge name in that heavyweight division. Lots of eyeballs on his fights because he's a fun fighter that does shoeies. But as a fan, I want to see slightly different questions answered about Almeida. And that's not to say I want to throw him up there with Aspinall or Blades or anything yet. I still would. I'd be happy for him to have a striker, but someone who's a little bit more well-rounded and experienced. And I think a more interesting challenge for Jailton Almeida would be Alexander Volkov, dealing with that length, that reach. I mean, I know Volkov's kind of getting up there in age, but he's got so much experience. And yes, Aspinall was able to take him down and submit him very easily, but that doesn't happen to Volkov often. And Aspinall was able to kind of do some work on the feet to lead up to that. So I think if Volkov's fighting a guy that he's like, this guy's nowhere near my striking, and he's just going to try and take me down, will he be showing him the uppercuts, the knees, all these things, and making life a bit more difficult using his reach and keeping away from him a bit? And I think that would be a more interesting challenge for Almeida, and that's what I'd like to see next. And if he can overcome that challenge, I'll think, way more highly of him as a possible heavyweight champion than I would if he beat Taito Ibasa.
Okay. Well, look, you mentioned Johnny Walker, and you're talking about Almeida potentially being a future champ at light heavy. Let's talk 205, because I thought definitely in the first round, I thought Johnny Walker looked exceptional last night, and then I thought the fight lost a bit of steam. The low kicks were fantastic from Johnny Walker, and it looked, as we touched on with Masasi earlier, Anthony Smith looked like a fighter that was just looking a little tired, I thought, and it didn't have the pop that you're so used to seeing from Anthony Smith, and he looked a bit lethargic in rounds 2 and 3. I was hoping that he was going to get past that first round and start to kind of work out Johnny Walker, but I think he's a very unorthodox fighter, Walker. But I thought, he completely dominant and looked great, and interesting to see where this puts him now. And also, I'd be interested to talk to you about where you think this leaves Anthony Smith and what's left for Anthony Smith. He's obviously, he looks great in a suit with a microphone, and he's doing, he does great work there. And but yeah, I watched the weigh-ins, and he looked, the face-offs, he looked really angry, Anthony Smith. And there was stuff where he was saying, like, you say this about my family, and he was chatting to him in the octagon, and he was saying something about,
you're attacking my family.
You're attacking my family. And I don't know if that's his mindset going into fights, that if you attack me, you attack my family, and that's how he gets in. Because Johnny Walker doesn't strike me, I might be wrong, Johnny Walker doesn't strike me as somebody that would trash talk someone's family.
No.
Like, he walked into that face-off all smiles and looked a little bit disappointed that Anthony Smith just wanted to, really sort of give it to him. And
was that just all like mind games for the fight, do you reckon? And not just mind games to get into Johnny Walker's head, because Johnny does like to just be kind of loose and fun and chilled out. But is it like that kind of, like, I feel like people do it more and more now since the is it the Last Dance documentary where Michael Jordan was like, I just created beef in my head to make me play better? Because if I made it like, oh, this guy said this, oh, okay, I'm gonna smash him on the court. And I think people are doing that more and more now. I think it's become a thing for people. It's like, oh, I took that personally. It's like, mate, you didn't do anything. No, I took that personally. And then it's supposed to motivate you to do like
shake my hand.
How dare you? I know what that really means. Well, mate, I just been like,
I'm onto you. I'm onto you, Johnny Walker.
But yeah, I mean, I think in the cage, I saw that. It was weird, wasn't it? So it was like, you're attacking my family. Huh? You're attacking my family, man. What? Like, you can hear Johnny Walker just saying, what? Like,
I'm attacking your fucking lead leg. That's what I'm doing a lot. And then
really confused.
I was loving watching him double up them low kicks, and Smith just didn't seem to check them. He threw some back as the fight sort of, got moving a bit more. But it felt that the fight sort of petered out, and there was less movement from Johnny Walker. But he just seemed to me to be sort of just very comfortable in there, and just thought, well, look, I'm beating him to everything here, and I think, in that sort of last round, I thought Smith just looked done, like absolutely done. And well, look,
I mean, Smith, it was an interesting. There was some really interesting stuff to take away from fights, like starting with Anthony Smith. I mean, he's named Lionheart for a reason. That guy's body seemed to be shutting down on him with the leg kicks, everything else. He got hit with a couple of big shots as well. But he goes to his knees when his body is just like failing him. And he's like, I'm just going to grab at your ankles. I'm just going to grab. Like, he keeps going, and he's trying to get the takedowns, and he's trying to do stuff. Like, that man is like, it's always, they say it's always a bad sign when you're crediting someone for their toughness, because it just means that they took a lot of damage. But you've got to give it up for Anthony Smith. I mean, what an amazing story he's had. Like, he really struggled to get. He's had like 54 fights, I think, and he's only 34. It's not like he's like 40 or anything. He's 34 years old, I think. and he's had 54 fights. That's a lot of mileage. It's a lot of fight years, and yeah, to have that thing where he really, I think he struggled to get into the UFC. Was he then cut from the UFC later on in his career? Then he came back, fought for the title. There was the illegal knee thrown by John Jones, and some people were like, mate, you could have just Aljamain Sterling that one. And he was like, no, that's not my vibe. I'm a warrior. I'm going to keep fighting. And then he's always been kind of there or thereabouts, but never quite title contender, but maybe top 5, whatever. He lost that fight to Glover, which was like a really bad loss. And now he's lost this one. It's like, he's had a crazy old career. Obviously, there was that whole home invasion thing he had a few years back as well. So he's had a mad old career, maybe a mad old life. And I just think looking at him last night, even though he's only 34, and in those higher weight classes, you know, age is not as big a factor. He could carry on, but it's just the amount of fights, man. The amount of years, mileage on the clock of taking that punishment. And he does have, I think, one of the better kind of post-fight careers lined up for him. He's a very good
100%.
analyst. Very good analyst. He does the podcast with Michael Bisping. He does, I think, some other radio stuff and all that kind of stuff based around MMA and all that. So he's actually, and he talks really well. Like, I think he's a very articulate man that talks really, really well, knows the sport really well. When you have those opportunities lined up for you, you've just had a performance which I think is the final nail in the coffin to your title aspirations. Do you ever see Anthony Smith fighting for a belt now?
No
I don't think he's fighting for a belt. Could he remain a top 10 fighter? Absolutely. But is that what he wants? Does he want to keep putting his body through the weight cuts, the punishment in the octagon? And last night he seemed to take a lot. Do you want to do that when you actually could probably earn a half decent living, or a very good living maybe, doing the analyst stuff and all the other stuff that he's doing? I don't know. And again, he seems like a very intelligent man. So, man, those brain cells, they're not going to grow back.
No.
So, you know, no. I wonder if we might see him hang them up. If not immediately, then maybe after one more fight or something like that. Okay. Maybe he can get, mate. I think he's in Denver, Colorado a lot of the time. So maybe if they do a card that's around there, maybe he can have like a kind of a swan song, a farewell fight in a kind of hometown. That would be maybe nice for him. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But that's my thoughts on Anthony Smith. In terms of Johnny Walker, I felt like it was, I don't want to say a mixed performance because it was clearly a really good performance. But when you're a guy that's already lost to the champion, you enter in the top 5 now with a win, you've got to, you know, make some noise. I feel like, especially with the way Dana White views fights, I think it's very possible that Dana White was watching that fight going, oh, yes, Johnny, here we go. This is Johnny's coming back. The relationship with John Kavanagh and SBG, that's working out well because we had a few boring fights in there with Johnny, but now he seemed to maybe hit a moment where he went, no, I'm combining the crazy Johnny Walker, some moments of flying knees and all that stuff with, you know, a bit more composure. I'm not so open for the counter strikes and all that kind of stuff. And last night, I felt like if he put his foot on the gas, did you say about like, did you say DC was saying he could have got him out of there or something like that?
Kavanagh was screaming at him, finish him.
Yeah, he could have finished him. I really, and I think someone like Dana White goes, you had him. And you left him because you were playing it safe. And Dana doesn't like that stuff.
That last 30, 40 seconds, he could have finished Anthony Smith. Like, I think he was there. He was, I think at one point, it was just like, look, step back, get him up, and then just knock him out. Because, I just thought, you know, you're right. That's you know, Dana wants exciting fights and exciting fighters, and Johnny Walker is an exciting fighter. But I think, as I said right at the beginning, you know, of talking about this fight, first round he come out and he looked exciting, and it just seemed to lose steam as the fight went on.
Yeah,
and it felt at the end that like you could get a nice little finish. He threw the flying knee right near the end, obviously, to try and get that highlight reel, but he could have just finished him with his hands, I think, quite
I think so too.
quite easily, and maybe there was just a respect for Anthony Smith that he didn't want to. I don't know.
No, I think you might be right, because there was one moment where rather than just stepping back and getting the ref to get Anthony up, he actually put his hand down and
to help him up. Yeah,
and I think some people saw that as, yeah, come on then. No, I think he was genuinely going, here, mate, I'll help you up.
yeah.
Like, I think he's a really lovely man.
Yeah.
I think he's just maybe too nice in there in those
Yeah.
things. And again, I don't want to see Anthony Smith get knocked out when he was just losing the fight anyway.
Yeah.
But again, when you're thinking about Johnny Walker's career, his corner, his making money for his family, his career aspirations, Dana White is not going to look favorably upon you going, oh, I've won this, so I'm just going to stay out of harm's way and let you off the hook a bit. That's not the game that you're in.
Well, I've not seen.
So, yeah.
I've not seen anything post-fight, so I don't know if Dana flexed his muscle again and Johnny Walker had to get changed in the car park. I'm not sure. I hope he was allowed a dressing room again.
Flip-flops walking around Charlotte.
Co-main, surely he's allowed a dressing room.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what's next for Johnny Walker, I said this a while ago, and I'm going to repeat this. As much as I want to see the trilogy between Adesanya and Pereira, Dana White keeps saying Pereira's got to go up to 205. I think Pereira should fight a top 5 guy. And I don't think you'll get a much more fun fight than Pereira versus Johnny Walker. I think that'd be a really cracking fight for his opening fight at 205. And if Pereira wins that, you could maybe slide him into a title shot. And if Johnny Walker wins that, it's a huge win for him.
But does it give him the title shot? This is it. Like, this is such a fucking dangerous fight. Right? Why not just give him? He must be looking at that top 5 now, going, right, well, okay, what's next for me to get me, one more win, and then I should be fighting for the title.
Well, I always find the mentality of this all really weird anyway, because I'm just like, hang on a minute, you just fought a guy ahead of you in the rankings. I don't know. I feel like there should be something a bit more strict in place where you go, you fought someone above you in the rankings, now you should fight someone below you in the rankings or something like that. And I know that it can't always work that way, whatever, but you get some fighters that are like, they'll be like ranked 7th and they'll defend their spot twice. And then they're like, right, come on, guys, I've just fought 2 people behind me. I want to fight someone in front of me. And then they'll keep giving a guy that's ranked 10th. And you're like, it's not fair. And then there's other guys that go, oh, I've fought a top 50. Like, we'll get on to Ian Gary in a minute. And, I want to see him progress. I'm a big Ian Gary fan. But he's just fought a guy in the top 15 to get ranked. Then he's calling out the top 10 guy. You're like, well, I want to see you get that because I want to see you progress. I'm slightly biased. But equally, if I was in that game, if I was a fighter or a coach or anything like that, and I was looking at it, I'd be going, that's not fair. You've just made the top 15. Now you should prove you are top 15 by defending it, then move up to go and fight top 10 or something like that. But anyway, that's just, one of those things with the ranking system. Why the ranking system it's good to have it. I like having a ranking system and seeing where people are and what matches you can make and all that kind of stuff. But equally, it is a slightly flawed system as well. It's not, as we always say, it's not a meritocracy.
Of course not. Walker Pereira is a great fight. I totally agree with you there. I think it is a perfect introduction to 205 for Pereira. We're going to get elite level kickboxing and, with 2 big, heavy, hitters. I think it could be really, really good. I don't see that unless the money's huge. I don't see that being a smart move for Johnny Walker. I think Johnny Walker should be looking.
Disagree.
No, I don't, because I think if he beats Pereira...
Who's he fighting? Who's above it? Rakic is injured, and I think Rakic is a dangerous fight for him. Jan Blachowicz, sure, but fine, yeah, whatever. Magomed Ankalaev, would he want to fight Magomed Ankalaev? I don't know. That's a really tough fight. And then Yuri Prochazka's injured or fighting Jamal Hill next anyway. And Johnny Walker has got a loss to Jamal Hill. He ain't fighting Jamal Hill anytime soon for that belt. So why not go, oh, hang on a minute, I can fight someone that's newly coming up to the division, but is arguably a bigger name than all the fighters I just mentioned, except for probably Yuri Prochazka. Like, Pereira is a much bigger name and will draw more eyeballs than Rakic. you could maybe make arguments for Blachowicz, but I think maybe he is bigger because of the trilogies with Izzy. Well, not trilogy, sorry, the 2 fights with Izzy. And he's probably more favourable because Pereira has no ground game. Johnny Walker, I think, has got a decent jiu-jitsu game. I don't think he's getting any takedowns or anything. He's more of a striker, obviously. But I think that could be an interesting fight for Johnny. And it's a massive name.
Is
A huge
Blachowicz
name.
penciled in for a fight?
I don't think he is. Let me see. But I mean, there was rumours about him rematching Ankalaev because of what happened.
Oh, that's a fight no one wants to see.
I know. So maybe the UFC have reluctant to do it. He is not booked for anything. And I'm assuming Ankalaev is not booked for anything either. No, he's not booked for anything. I don't know if Rakic, is he still injured? I think he's still injured. I'll have to look this up now. Rakic is, there's nothing for Rakic either because I don't know if he's still injured but he's not got a fight booked since his leg injury to Blachowicz back in this time last year.
We're talking shoulda, coulda, wouldas with Pereira because only last week, he was saying that he wants to fight Izzy again. So maybe he's not going up. We don't
Dana
know.
keeps saying he is going up. Like that's I think I'd like to see the trilogy with Izzy. I think Pereira wants a trilogy with Izzy. I don't think Izzy's bothered about it. I think he thinks, I've done I'm moving on to Drickus or whatever if he gets past Whittaker.
Which he won't.
Which I don't think he would. So I think Izzy needs a fight. So I think the trilogy makes perfect sense, to be honest. But Dana White keeps saying, no, Pereira will be moving up to 205. So if Dana keeps saying that, then what do you do? That's what he's saying. So
well, I guess we need to see
it makes sense.
I just wish Yuri would hurry up and heal up and be fight fit because that's there's so many exciting fights to watch him in, and I hope Rakic comes back soon as well because I love watching him fight. But okay, can we talk about the future because
the future's here, baby.
Oh man,
big
fuck off statement was made last night.
It really was. It really was
phenomenal. He looked huge. Just an absolute. He's striking ridiculous. Like everything's on point. He just looked great. Hey, do you know what? And I know that we've been lucky to have met him and had him on the show a few times. The level of calm about Ian Gary, when you just see people that are just loving it. I don't know if it's a front and that's how he calms himself. That's how he deals with, keeping the adrenaline in place and not getting, too caught up in the enormity of what he's, the stadiums and whatever. Mate, he looked so calm, so happy, just looked like he was born to be in that octagon. And head kick. Oh, phenomenal. And it just looks so strong. And, Rodriguez is no joke. And I thought, I don't know what you made of this, I thought Daniel Rodriguez looked really, and I don't want to use the word scared, but when he was having, when Buffer was introducing him, he looked like, what am I doing here? Like, he looked like, I did not think he looked comfortable. I thought he just looked like he's airborne in it. And I think, I don't know, maybe, because all the stuff leading up to it, the way that Ian Gary carries himself, he's always like, the first, when he walks past him, he's like, hey, how you doing, man? And I don't know if their mind games work because he was just so happy to see that. I was sitting there when, watching his weigh in and that.
Stuff?
Like, yeah.
The pizza thing was great. If you haven't seen it, like Ian Gary, it's just like, it's like the night of the big weight cuts, so the weigh-ins are in the morning. So Ian Gary just like takes a pizza to Rodriguez's door, knocks on the door and leaves it there. Someone from his team comes outside and it's like, what? What's this going on with this pizza? Who's left this here or whatever? But then he ends up taking it into the room. That must have been torture for Rodriguez, just smelling a lovely pizza on his weight cut night. You're like, oh, give me a break.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, great call out. I mean, ambitious call out. You know, like Ian Gary, you know, we've always said we know that Neil Magny's the gatekeeper to the top 10. As soon as he made that call, I thought that's a great shout. I think that could happen. I think he could jump straight to that, because that 12-0, the star quality of Ian Gary, I think Dana loves him. I think he could push through. I personally would like to see him have another fight before Neil Magny, to fight someone in that top 15, because I do think he's a future champ. I really do. I think he's fight IQ. He's phenomenal. I love his counter strikes. And I think, do we want to rush him too much? I don't know, but I'd like to see him one more fight, then get a someone on the peripheries of the top 10. Where do you stand on it?
So I've just been looking up a couple of things, and there's some problems with the call out, and I'll give you that in a second. Firstly, on the performance, I just wanted to add, because you've nailed it, but what I wanted to add was it was such a well planned out game plan, and I don't know. Ian Gary seems to be slightly nomadic, and I think they mentioned this on the commentary, where he's obviously at Sanford MMA over in Florida, but he seems to spend time at different places, and Team Renegade is one of the places he's been at, spending some time there and picking up stuff. I don't know if I misheard this on the commentary, because again, I was sort of on the poker and everything, but did they say he trained over in New Zealand?
No, he's going to Brazil or something in the next couple of weeks to train over there.
He's got plans to do it.
Then he's going to go to City and train with Izzy.
City kickboxing. All right. Well, that's absolutely fantastic. And I've always thought to myself, fighters don't do that enough. Why don't fighters do that enough? Just go from camp to camp and learn and learn. I don't know if there's something to do with people being like, we don't want you here because you're gonna just take notes on all our shit and then go elsewhere. So maybe there's an etiquette thing, or maybe it's like people won't trust you because you've gone to too many gyms. I don't know, but I've always thought to myself, go to Dagestan, learn some wrestling, go to New Zealand, learn some kickboxing, go to Brazil, learn some jiu-jitsu. I don't know, it just always made sense to me to do it like that, and that seems to be what he's doing, which is amazing. So good on him for that. But whether it be the time spent at Team Renegade or something else, I don't know. But what was amazing about this to me was how he sowed the seed early for that head kick, because he threw 3 or 4 right leg kind of body kicks to lower Rodriguez's hands. And that's when he came up high. He sort of came up high a little bit earlier and sort of missed it. His toes kind of flicked at his face a little bit. I don't know if he sort of turned it into a front kick or what, or if it was just like a missed kick. So I don't know if it was like, oh shit, like that's like, maybe he thought maybe he'd given the game away there or what, I don't know. But he still obviously went for it after that, and it landed so flush because Rodriguez brought his hands down, because he'd sowed that seed early on with the 3 or 4 good body kicks early on. And I think he apparently called it. I didn't see this, but someone else, I think, put on like Twitter or something like that, like he called the right high kick early on in the fight week. He said that's going to be the one, and it was. So amazing stuff from Ian Gary in the fight, the game plan, calling it, all that stuff, and then the call out as well.
That's problematic. Great. Why?
Because Neil Magny is booked to fight Philip Rowe in June. Okay. He's booked to fight Philip Rowe on another ABC card, actually, on the 24th of June. So if Magny loses, then that doesn't have much weight, because Magny would definitely drop down the rankings, if not out of the rankings. I don't think he would drop out of the rankings, but I think he'd drop down the rankings. So that doesn't hold as much weight. So Yeah, and Philip Rowe is not someone I know a huge amount about, but he is on a 3-fight UFC win streak, I believe. Lost a lot of grappling matches recently, but he's on a 3-fight UFC win streak. Last win was Nico Price as well. Nico Price is no joke, fun fighter, and he came through the Contender Series. So that's an interesting one. Neil Magny versus Philip Rowe. We'll see what happens there. If Neil Magny wins, again, Neil Magny's taking on an unranked guy. Should Neil not get to fight ahead of him in the rankings? Why should he have to fight the 15th ranked guy? So, I don't know. It's an interesting one to see what they'll do with Neil, with Ian. But in theory, it was a good call out. But I don't know if he maybe didn't know that Neil had a fight booked, because I think that changes things. And I think maybe
Mm.
you should be, it's always better to maybe call out people when they haven't got a fight booked, or especially when you've won in the first round, then you could like turn things around pretty quickly. Or you go, oh, I want the winner of fight X or whatever
Yeah.
it is, because then, you want that guy. So I don't know. It's an interesting one. But if Neil Magny loses, then I feel like that maybe counts as a bit of a wasted call out.
Mm.
So we'll have
Not
to
seen
wait and
Chiesa
see.
fight for a while. I don't know if Chiesa's got anything lined up. Like, where's he ranked? He's got to
I
be.
feel like he does, but let's check. This is nice and boring for everyone listening while we're just checking Tapology. No,
Chiesa's ranked
no,
12th.
and he was supposed to fight Li Jingliang last month,
Mm.
and that fight got cancelled, I believe, because Li Jingliang was injured,
It was
not
the
because
case.
Chiesa. Yeah,
So
so
I mean that's a very different fight.
so
But
Chiesa might be like, I want a fight, so maybe that makes sense. But then Chiesa's one of these guys that, well, to be fair, Chiesa's on a 2-fight losing streak. I don't think he can be picky.
mm,
I think he's got to take whoever the UFC give him. So I think
yeah,
Chiesa's actually a better call out than
solid ground
Neil
game. But
Magny.
we've not seen much of Ian Gary's ground game in the UFC.
No,
But when he
but we
beat
know it's
Jack
decent.
Grant, when he,
Yeah.
to win the Cage Warrior strap, and Jack Grant's high level BJJ, isn't he? And
Yes.
and and Ian Gary was more than comfortable down there, and just spent the entirety of the
Yes.
fight just having a chat to him as he was ragdolling each other around. Yeah, I think Chiesa could be a good fight. At some point, if he makes his way into that top 10, I'd like to see Ian Gary Wonderboy. I think that will be a lovely little bit of stand up.
Yeah. That'd be a wonderful fight, and I think the build up to that would be like really wholesome and lovely. I
Yeah.
think it'd be really nice. I think they could
Driving
both just
each
be
other to
playing.
their gyms.
Yeah, driving each other to the gyms and then playing a little joke on each other. Oh, Wonderboy. Oh, Ian. Yeah, that'd be lovely. So yeah, I'd enjoy that. I think Wonderboy's booked to fight Michelle Pereira, which is a fight I've wanted to see for a long time. I
Yeah,
don't know when that's for, but
yeah.
Jesus, that is a really fun fight.
Big fight for
Michelle
Pereira
Pereira.
as well. That's a big jump
Huge
up for
fight for
him.
Pereira. Yeah, and he
Uh,
deserves it as well. I think he's not been very active lately, but he
mm,
put together a decent win streak, and
yeah.
he's really exciting fighter Pereira.
I'm
So
going to say
yeah,
Pereira
for
and the
sure.
words not very active. You never really hear them in the same sentence. Like,
um, so yeah, so that'd be a good one. But ultimately, congratulations, Ian Gary.
massive.
I mean, he's really announcing himself on the world stage now, because he had a few kind of like decision wins or whatever it was.
Mm,
And then even the last fight, I think, yes, he got the finish and it was a really good finish, but he
mm,
took that shot and was rocked.
yeah.
And it was a fight that I think he was very much expected to win. And
Mm,
because he got rocked in it, people were a bit like, and I think I maybe was one of them, was a bit like, well, I don't know how the UFC are going to see that, because he got rocked in a fight that maybe he was very highly expected to win. This is a different kettle of fish. This is, well, you're supposed to be the future. D-Rod is a very, very tough guy. If you beat this guy, then we know you're the real deal. And if he got a decision when, we'd have been like, that's a good performance from Ian. So to head kick
first
him and
round.
then finish him in the first round, that is, I think, truly special. And to say, no, we're really seeing a big evolution in Ian Gary from that
Yeah.
guy that we watched win the Cage Warriors strap has come on bundles in the UFC, looked great, and just I think he's really special, and who knows where the ceiling is for Ian
I
Gary.
love it.
We'll wait and see.
And I agree with you on that nomadic kind of approach to gyms and stuff. Obviously, he's rolling with Gilbert and striking with the best of them currently at the moment. But seeing footage of him training with Liam Harrison, so he's striking's going to be just coming on leaps and bounds and just training with all of these people. Say wanting to go over and train at City. I mean, that's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like the experience you're going to get there. And then obviously going over to Brazil and to work on your grand game. I think we're going to see a really fantastic, well-rounded fighter in Ian Gary, and I think the ceiling's high, mate. I really do. Yeah. Right. Well, look, I'm just sort of looking down the card, and I don't know which fights you want to talk about, because I don't necessarily want to sort of rattle through the whole of the card, but I know there's definitely one fight I do want to talk about.
Go on then.
But and that's Matt Brown and Court McGee. I thought, you're looking at two proper, legends really of MMA, and Court McGee's story's a real fascinating story of hardship and turning his life around. Matt Brown, I mean, 24-19. I mean, absolute killer. I think now he's joint at the top for the most knockouts
with Derek Lewis,
with the Beast. And he was in there last night saying, "Look, give me another fight. I want that record." And what a great way to top the prelims. Matt Brown versus Court McGee, and again, you just round one, like literally bomb, like right hook, and you just forget, like, Matt Brown is no fucking joke. Like, he hits like a truck. Is he 42? Am I right?
I don't know, man. I'd have to look that up.
Like, I'm not old for Matt Brown. Like, but he looks absolutely. He's 42. Yeah. Just looked phenomenal. I mean,
Jesus.
mixed
42.
Yeah, I know, man. Like mixed, record of late. He's got the win. He lost to Barberena. Got the win over Lima, but prior to that, lost to Condit, Biaza. And but I don't know what's next for him. He's fought everyone: Maya, Cerrone, Sanchez. Johnny Hendricks, Robbie Lawler. Like, you just look at Dan Hardy fight got cancelled. Never fought Dan Hardy. But Wonder Boy, like, unbelievable. Like Rory
Douglas Lima.
Yeah, just absolute. Did he fight Rumble? No.
Oh, I'm just looking through his stuff now. I mean, there was a spell between 2012 and 2014 where he went on like a 7-fight win streak. One of them was Wonderboy Thompson, I can see here.
Yeah.
And then he got to, I'm assuming it was, I don't know.
Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, Robbie Lawler. It must have been like a number one contender fight or something like that, maybe against Robbie. And then he lost that fight. And then, and then he's lost a bunch, won a couple, lost. Yeah, as I say, really mixed bag is his career.
Never boring. Never boring.
Never boring. Very exciting. I'll tell you the other crazy statistic, I think, about last night's fight between him and Court McGee is you had two men in the octagon that have technically been dead. Because Matt Brown is he's obviously known as the Immortal, isn't he? Because he was revived, he was dead, and I think I'm right in saying this. Court McGee, I think, overdosed. I think he was heavily into drugs at one point.
It was,
in his young life, and I think he was technically dead and revived from an overdose. So you had two men in the octagon that had both technically been dead at one point. That's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Right.
I don't know what to say about it, but I just think that's worth mentioning. Like, I suppose maybe it's worth mentioning in a sense that like these two people could have there's that's as low as you can get, isn't it? You are literally dead.
Yeah.
Literally dead for
Don't
like
get any lower
a
than
couple
being
of
dead,
minutes.
mate.
Don't get any lower than that, does it? You
Yeah.
literally been dead. And then
Mm.
you've pulled your life back around to the point where you are in the UFC. I'd like to say living your
Elite
dream.
level athlete.
Elite level athletes. And you're there with, millions of people watching you worldwide, earning paychecks, doing a sport that
Yeah.
you love to do from the lowest point.
Mm.
I don't want to get too kind of earnest or serious on this show. It's not normally what we do. But if you are someone that's like in a really low point in your life,
Mm.
I mean, looking at people like Court McGee and Matt Brown and going, look at where they dragged their life from to where they are now. That's an incredible bit of inspiration, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But I just can't ever get beyond a weigh-in where Matt Brown, I think his missus must have said, will you just put a suit on, right? And he put a suit on, right? Some people can't pull off a suit. Matt Brown is not meant to wear a suit. He looked like, when you see them like them kids trying to get in the night.
See this.
Oh, it's mental. Like, when you think like someone's never worn a suit and don't even know how to do a tie, and it looked like when you see them kids that like still wear their school trousers to try and get into their first nightclub. He looked bananas. It was just like, why is Matt Brown wearing a suit? Like, obviously, around the time there was loads of fighters looking, like, all wanted to jump on the Conor thing and all wanted to look really slick and cool.
Yeah.
Matt Brown just looked like he'd literally just bought, right, I need to just pop down to Moss Bros and get myself a quick suit. It looked fucking brilliant. And I remember just thinking, oh, Matt Brown, just wear your shorts and your sliders, man. It's more you. Don't do the suit thing. But I can't ever see Matt Brown now without thinking of him just looking so weird in this really bad suit.
I mean, look, there's not much else that I'd like to. I mean, shout out to Carlos Ulberg because he got that great finish in the first round. That check hook. When I first saw it, I was like, "What's happened there?"
It looked like it didn't really.
It just fell into the fence.
Yeah.
It's like, but obviously when the replay you showed, he caught him like behind the ear, like a really good kind of left hook.
And that was a fight that he decided to call, wasn't it? And just go, no, we're done. Was that was the knockout?
Again, I was watching poker, so
Yeah.
I was playing poker, so I didn't quite see this. But
He dropped
did he just walk away?
And he sort of looked at him.
He did go down for some ground and pound.
Like, and then like I think he just walked off, and the ref was like, "Oh, I better jump in and stop this now." And it was quite weird. He was just like, "Nah, he's done," and like, and he was done. But yeah, it was it was quite a strange way to just go. No, I think I've got it. Don't worry, step back, ref. I'll make the call. But yeah, it was a solid win. Just trying to have a look. I thought was quite interesting. Oh, my bloody computer seized. Hang on, let's pull it back.
I was about to say you've just started to go super glitchy, and we're towards the end of this episode anyway. So maybe that is a time to call it a day.
Well, there's one more. It's only because I'm trying to.
Go on.
Oh no, I can't even find the bloody card now. Oh, it's all gone wrong, isn't it? It was. Here we go. Let me just pull it up because it was quite an interesting one. And let me just pull this up. Come on, computer. Oh, literally got a Betamax laptop that's right. Here we go.
While Stu's doing this, all I want to say is we have got a very brilliant interview coming your way. Hopefully, very very soon. Maybe it'll be our next episode. I'm not going to ruin it by telling you who it is. You'll see that on like Instagram, Twitter, whatever. But we have got a phenomenal guest, and I don't use that word lightly. An absolutely phenomenal guest coming your way probably next week, and hopefully you might see a little bit of improvement in our kind of YouTubey video quality and all that kind of stuff as well. Fingers crossed, because we're trying something a little bit different, but we've got an absolutely phenomenal guest on the show, and we're actually trying to do a few things coming up to make the quality of like the way we're editing this better, and the just the video quality itself. The video quality itself's not going to change much for the next interview, but the editing of it will, and hopefully we're going to you're going to see improvements on this. So stick with us. Things are only going to get better. We've got a phenomenal guest for you next week. So please hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet and you're watching this on YouTube, or give us a 5 stars or a comment or a like or whatever these things are, because I never know what these things are meant to be. But yeah, do all that for us, because you've got some really great stuff coming your way, and we're really trying to improve the quality overall of all of this stuff coming your way very, very soon. But Stu, have you found what you wanted to see?
Yes. Apologies for that. My computer's been very, very slack. It was Mandy Bone versus Ji Yeon Kim. Did you watch this? This was, I think, the first fight
Bits
on
of it.
And so at the weigh-ins, Ji Yeon Kim went straight into Mandy's face and was giving it, really giving it. And she trains under is it John Wood?
Jojo Woods.
And it just went like the first round was fantastic, and then I think it was in the third round there was an illegal knee, and it wasn't it wasn't intentional. It was
before that, she had a point taken off her at the end of the second round.
Yeah.
Because after the bell, she sort of kicked her off of her.
Yeah.
And it took the ref ages to do it, but he then took a point off of her for that, which I don't know. It didn't seem like she kicked her, like trying to probably hurt. It seemed more like Bond was like on her and she was getting her off of her, like a more petulant thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That seemed a bit harsh to take a point. But anyway, go back to the illegal knee.
Yeah, and it was deemed unintentional, and so there was lots of confusion, and it seemed to go on for quite a while. And you could see sort of Buffer and the officials and that all sort of looking over as to, was it going to go to the scorecard, or was it because or if it was intentional, would Bone get the win instantly? And it's so strange because it's weird because as fans you don't want to see a fight stopped like that, but she's got every right to go, no, my vision's blurred, that hurt, and I'm not. It's weird. Sometimes you think, are they playing the game? Are they just going, well, look, here's the win, and but you don't know, and you have to err on the side of safety and presume that she was injured. And like I say, she was hit with an illegal strike, and so ultimately it did get called as unintentional, and so it went to the scorecards, and I guess that point deduction in the second round probably cost, and obviously it was the fight was handed to Mandy Bone, but. Yeah, I was really disappointed that fight ended that way, because it was a really exciting fight, and just ended in
I think as soon as you throw that illegal knee, that's it then. And especially because there'd been a point taken already for something else that, even though I don't agree the point necessarily should have been taken at that point, I think you throw an illegal knee, man. You can't do that. It's so dangerous. In terms of whether Bond was playing, I think I did see put out some kind of tweet being like, she's saying she can't see because she's like, I don't want to fight anymore.
Oh, really?
And I don't want to disagree with Angela Hill, so I'm just going to leave that out there. So but who knows? It's very easy for us as just fans of the sport to criticize and say, oh, they don't want none of it and all that kind of stuff. But we don't know. And we don't know what it's like.
Probably not very nice getting kneed in the head.
Nah, it's probably not, especially when you're not expecting it. It's like, that's an illegal one. I don't mind the legal ones, but not an illegal one. Come on, guys.
And also, just before we wrap things up, Blake mentioned subscribing so you don't miss our upcoming episode. We've an absolute superstar. We have been so lucky. And we've also mentioned Angela Hill there, who's got a fight coming up maybe next week or the week after with Mackenzie Dern. Looking forward to that. She's been pushed to
a main event. Yeah, she was supposed to be just like on a card, and now she's been pushed to a main event against Mackenzie Dern. Yeah.
Go check out her episode with Angela Hill. She's fantastic. You know that anyway, but go and listen to her full story, because we do a complete career spanning interview with Angela Hill, and that came out about a year ago. And like you say, if you're new to this podcast, then we've got some absolutely amazing guests, and sometimes people like Ian Gary have been on twice. If you want to know their kind of sort of full story of how they sort of got into martial arts, their mindset, their kind of habits in the green room before they go out to, in the back room before they go out to the octagon and fight, and what goes through their mind when they're making that ring. We kind of do a real deep dive into that, and we talk about weight cut and all sorts of bits and pieces that give you a real insight and peek behind the curtain to what makes them the people they are. And so always go and check the first episode with the chosen guest, because that's where you get that. And then if they've come back on, a lot of the time they've come back on to talk about an upcoming fight, and we always chat other stuff as well. But if you want the big long form career interviews, always pick the first one with a guest, and there is some amazing guests there. We've mentioned Ian Gary, and on the sort of the British fighters, we've had Paddy on, we've had Molly on, we've had Tom Aspinall on, and the list goes on. And all we'd suggest is subscribe, because you can go and listen to any of them episodes for free wherever you get your podcasts. Also, if you like to watch your podcast, head over to YouTube. And also, Blake mentioned as well, we're doing a bit of extra work now. We've got some people on board doing some really clever stuff with the editing and that. So hopefully your visual experience is going to be improved as well. And so don't miss anything. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. And yeah, because we've got plenty of good stuff coming.
It's still our
ugly
way. Faces, though. Like, the visual experience is not going to change that much. It's still our terribly ugly faces. Like, you're going to have to put up with that. If anything, eventually you're going to be seeing our ugliness in better quality. So, if anything, we should apologise for that.
Yeah,
that's
sincere apologies, guys. Sorry, I just got carried away with the whole thing and didn't really actually realise the enormity of.
Didn't think it through, mate.
No.
Did not think it through.
Sorry, guys.
I'm just flicking through some cards as well, and we mentioned the Neil Magny Philip Rowe fight that's coming up on June 24th. That is another tasty UK primetime. Even though it's from Jacksonville, Florida, it's 8 p.m. main card start, I think.
Rattle off some stuff. Who's on there?
Well, I mean, look, it's not stacked or anything like that, but we've got Phil Rowe versus Neil Magny, David Onama versus Gabriel Santos. You probably don't necessarily know those guys, but Onama's a guy who did he come in? He fought Mason Jones on short notice, I think, and put on a really good show. And Gabriel Santos, I believe, is the guy that fought Lerone Murphy in London, and he put on a very good show as well. So I'm expecting that fight to be an absolute cracker, low-key, really good fight. Randy Brown, who I'm a big fan of, I love his style. Brendan Allen, who got that amazing win against, why is his name gone out of my head? Andre Muniz on middleweight recently, which no one was expecting. Brendan Allen ranked middleweight. He's on that card as well against Bruno Silva, who's been doing bits and looking really good lately. Amanda Hebas, Macy Barber in a ranked flyweight fight. And then top of the bill, this is the one, Josh Emmett, Ilya Topuria. Watching that at like 10 o'clock, I'll be buzzing for that. That'll be
heavy hands will be flying, mate.
Absolutely. I mean, maybe we should try and watch that one together, Stu. We should try and do something. I don't know.
Why?
Did you say why? Why? I want to watch it with you, mate. Why? Why would we do that? Oh no, yeah,
let's do that.
No, Stu, what a stupid idea of me. Why should we possibly watch a UFC fight?
You didn't want to anyway.
I didn't. No, when I said watch it together, I meant like together at the same time, but obviously in our separate houses in separate places, and in no way speaking or having a good time together at all.
Let's do that. It'd be good fun, man. It'd be good fun.
Now that I've been publicly humiliated, let's end this fucking show, shall we?
We'll see you
later,
time.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.